This is Chapter 2, Overview of Mass Media Theories and Their Uses. Let's begin by talking about what a theory is. You've probably heard about Darwin's theory of evolution since you were in elementary school. So what is a theory? A theory is an idea or a system of ideas intended to explain something. Mass communication theories. First of all, there are dozens of communication theories. If you click on the link shown here in this slide, right there, it will take you to a website that goes over all the communication theories. And when you get to that web page, you'll see a section called Mass Communication Theories, as well as Communication Theories, Theories for Political Science. But anyway, they all fall under communication theories. But for our class, we're going to talk about mass communication theories. So, and as I said, there are dozens of them on that website. And what we've done as your instructors is narrowed down the list of mass communication theories to about 7 that we think you should consider using when you write the media literacy essay assignment. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this presentation, just those 7. And let me say this while I'm mentioning all of the theories. If you go to that website and you see a theory that you think you'd like to use that's not on this list of 7, feel free to do so. But just make sure you follow all of the rules about defining the theory correctly when you apply it to the prompt that we'll give you to write about. When you do this essay. So yes, you can use a theory that's not on this list of 7 that I'm going to go over in this presentation. Okay, so here are the 7 major mass communication theories and their uses that we're going to talk about in this presentation. The first one is functionalism theory, and sometimes you'll see this theory referred to as functional analysis theory. Number 2, agenda setting theory. Number 3, uses and gratifications theory. Number 4, social cognitive theory. And this one is also known as social learning theory. In fact, if you've taken a psychology course, you probably heard the term social learning theory used, or even a sociology course. And number 5, symbolic interactionism theory. Number 6, spiral of silence theory. And number 7, cultivation theory. Out of cultivation theory comes a phenomenon called mean world syndrome. So just keep that in mind, and I'll discuss that more when we get to that slide. Also, cultivation theory, sometimes you'll see it referred to as cultivation analysis theory. So don't let that throw you off. It's the same theory. Okay, what is functionalism theory about? And remember, this is also called functional analysis theory. Anyway, this theory was developed by Professor Laswell, and he says that the mass media are simply an extension of basic functions that society has always needed. Communication can be functional or dysfunctional, but in either case, it operates within the social system. For example, if you hear a weather report about a tornado in the area, if you're like me and you live in Northeast Arkansas, your functional response will be to go and take cover in the hallway and get away from windows. But some people, they are storm chasers, and they do something that is kind of dysfunctional, like what you see here in this photo. This guy is, he looks like he's a storm chaser and is out with his camera. Like I said, I can promise you that would not be me doing that. I would be doing what I consider more functional and getting out of the way of the tornado as best I can. Okay, a little bit more about functional analysis theory. Professor Laswell also teamed up with Professor Wright. I don't have his first name here, but they explain that this theory has 4 major social functions. And here are the first 2 you see highlighted in this rust colored. The first one is surveillance. surveillance of the environment. This is where you look for both threats and opportunities. For example, when there's a natural disaster or war or a health care scare such as the COVID pandemic, it is the role of the media to create awareness by providing information on what is happening and ways in which the disaster can be faced. Another one of these social functions of this theory is transmission of culture from one generation to the next. For example, shows like Full House, they promote family values, and a show that I grew up on was Brady Bunch. It also promoted family values, and I'm sure you can think of other shows that uh, help to transmit culture through the media. Next, the other two of the four major social functions of this functionalism theory are correlation and entertainment. The correlation function focuses on how the media helps people make sense of information and use that to form opinions based on the information and perspectives that the media have presented. For example, Hitler used the media in his propaganda war against the Jews. That's not a good example of correlation, that's a negative example. But also, back during the Vietnam War, the media started showing the downsides of that war, and it helped change the mindset of people and of Americans. And pretty much the majority of the nation turned against the war effort in Vietnam. The fourth and final social function of functionalism theory is entertainment. This is a popular function, and it refers to the ability of the media to help people relax, and it creates a means of escape from the stress of everyday life. The entertainment function of media has both positive and negative effects as well. For example, TV offers opportunities for people to view events that they would otherwise not be able to participate in, like the Oscars. And you see here Mr. Kobe Bryant, he's accepting the Oscar for the movie the movie that he created when he retired called Dear Basketball, I believe. And I believe he's the only NBA player so far who has won an Oscar. And other events that a lot of us can't really attend are things like the Olympics and the Super Bowl. But because of this entertainment function, we can experience those events as well. Okay, the second theory is agenda setting theory. This theory suggests that issues that are portrayed as important in the news media become important to the public. In other words, the media set the agenda for public debate and public discussion. A popular saying about this theory is that media do not tell us what to think, instead, they tell us what to think about. And here's an example of smoking, agenda setting, what happened with smoking some years ago. Agenda setting theory explains practices such as the rise of public opinion against smoking. In other words, before the media took a stand against smoking, smoking was considered a personal health problem. And in fact, when I was growing up in the 60s, maybe even in the 70s, but I know in the 60s when I was a child living in Chicago, there were jingles and commercials out about cigarettes and how smoking tastes good like a cigarette should. Um, but it was not a major public health issue. But when the media jumped on the bandwagon and started um, running promoting campaigns against smoking in ads and public service announcements and other forms of media, smoking then became a public health issue. And this led to smoking being banned, eventually being banned in all government buildings, in schools, and most restaurants. That's why you won't find anybody smoking on our campus here at Arkansas State, and probably not in hospitals, post offices, or anywhere like that. Here's an ad. You can read just pause the slideshow and read this ad. It says the scary anti-smoking ads prompt 100,000 people to kick the habit. This is an ad showing a person who had cancer, and I believe they're putting on their prosthetic legs. Okay, the third theory that we're going to talk about is uses and gratifications theory. And you'll see me abbreviate this theory as UNG theory. But anyway, the idea behind this theory is that individuals are constantly seeking gratifications, and the media compete to provide those gratifications. This theory was developed by Arthur Asa Berger, and he suggests that among the many gratifications that audience members might seek include to be amused, to experience the beautiful, to have shared experiences with others, to find models to imitate, and to believe in romantic love. Uses and gratifications of media. The fourth theory is social learning theory, and remember, this theory is also called social cognitive theory. It says by widening the information about the world that we are exposed to, the media play an important role in social learning. In other words, you can learn from others' mistakes and from the good things that happen to people by reading or seeing it in the media. Now, this is an example of something negative that happened. This young woman, Justine Sacco, this was back, well, the AIDS epidemic is still around. It's not talked about as much. But she got on a plane, and before she got on a plane, she tweeted and said, "Going to Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white." Okay, now, I don't know if you've ever flown to Africa. I've flown to Europe, but not to Africa. That is a long plane ride. But by the time she got off the plane, she had been fired. And the hashtag "Has Justine landed yet?" Um, hit the um, hit the media, or Twitter at the time as it was known. And you can see that's a screenshot of the actual tweet that she did. So this is an example of how we can learn from someone's mistake. And the mistake here was being insensitive to a group of people who were suffering very badly from the AIDS epidemic, the HIV AIDS epidemic. Here's another example of how we can learn from someone who use social media in the wrong way. And I have a ton of social media examples. Here we have attorney Stacey Abrams, who was running for governor at the time, and I believe this was back in 2021. As you can see, she is African American and has natural hair, but a coach at I want to say he was at one of the big schools in Georgia. This is what he had to say in a tweet that he did. He said, "Congratulations to the state Georgia and Fat Albert at Stacey Abrams, because you have truly shown America the true works of cheating in an election again. Enjoy the buffet, big girl. You earned it. Hope the money was good. Still not governor." Okay. And as you can see what happened over on the right-hand side of the screen, the hateful tweet about Stacey Abrams cost university football coach his job. Excuse me, this coach was at the University of Tennessee, but Stacey Abrams was running for governor in Georgia. So, not a good thing to do. And here's another example of someone doing something that was not very wise on social media. This is the case of a university professor who suggested that Hurricane Harvey was karma for Texas Republicans. He was fired too. And this was back in 2017. If you see down in boldface, it says, in the second paragraph, it says, "Kenneth L. Story, a sociology professor, was immediately slammed on social media after he tweeted this on Sunday." He says, "I don't believe in instant karma, but this kind of feels like it for Texas. Hopefully this will help them realize the GOP doesn't care about them." Well, 2 days later, he was out of a job. So, back to social learning theory. One thing we can learn is what not to do on social media if you watch it. And people are watching you on social media, believe me. Okay, the fifth theory is symbolic interactionism theory. And basically, this is the notion that what holds us together as a culture is our common creation of society through our interactions based on language. In other words, we engage in symbolic interactions with each other in which we continually attempt to arouse in others the feeling we have in ourselves by telling others how we feel. And the example here is the breast cancer ribbon. We have assigned meaning to it and then disseminated that meaning through portrayal through the media. So now most people have developed the same shared meaning of the pink simple looped ribbon. And the ribbon has become a universal symbol of support for survivors and new patients. And this color pink, if you go to the big breast cancer walk in Little Rock or in other cities, you'll see everybody there wearing pink. They have on pink outfits. So that color pink is just symbolic, and you have the pink ribbon. Okay, the sixth theory is spiral of silence theory. This theory raises the question of why people become unwilling to express what they perceive to be a minority opinion. Um, there are probably some people around who voted for President Trump, but for whatever reason, they won't admit it, particularly if they don't look a lot like him. They might have voted for him quietly because they didn't want to vote for his opponent, but they know that if they express that opinion, they might be demeaned or ousted. So what this is called, when this happens because you don't want to express what you really want to say, this is called the spiral of silence. And that's what's behind that theory. And it's used a lot in political science as well. So that brings us to our final theory of the seven that we kind of picked out for you. And once again, if you if you find a theory somewhere else that you want to use for this assignment, feel free to do so. But this one is the cultivation analysis theory. It was developed by Professor George Gerbner, and he argued that watching large amounts of TV cultivates a distinct view of the world that is sharply at odds with reality. In other words, people who watch a lot of TV perceive the world differently than do people who don't watch a lot of TV. And sometimes these heavy TV viewers cultivate a response that Gerbner calls the mean world syndrome. And we even have statistics that show that crime goes down in a certain part of the country, but if a person still watches a lot of crime shows and the top of the news hour where they report the crime first, then once you do that for several hours, then this theory says that you're likely to develop the mean world syndrome because you have cultivated this response, and it has really influenced how you view the world. And also, the other side is that people who don't view as much of those types of shows and all the crime that comes through the top of the news, then they're less likely to view the world in a skewed fashion. Also, with the mean world syndrome, it addresses the effects of consuming large amounts of violent media. Actually, I've already mentioned this to a degree. The effect of violent TV, once again, George Gerbner argued, is not that it will program children to be violent. Instead, the real harm is more complex. And he argues these 4 points. He says violent programming does the following: it pushes aside other ways of portraying conflict, it deprives viewers of other choices, it facilitates the victim mentality, and it discourages production of alternative programming. In other words, if you're always trying to produce a lot of violent shows, then other shows that promote, as we saw earlier, family values, they might get pushed to the side in favor of the violent shows. Um, so let's look at this Dear Abby letter and see if you can tell what theory or theories might be at work with this letter. This person writes, Dear Abby, I am a tween, meaning they are early teens, and I'm scared about getting a disease or sickness. It started when I watched the news one night last month, waiting for a show to come on. The news had all these terrible crimes and diseases, and that's when I started freaking out. My friend says I'm crazy, and I'm afraid she's right. All this worrying has me really feeling out of it. What should I do to quit worrying about diseases? And Abby writes back, she says, Dear Southern girl, there's a saying in the news business, if it bleeds, it leads. It means the more shocking a story is, the more attention it will grab and the more people will watch. Quieting your fears may be as simple as talking with your parents about what's scaring you or having them schedule a visit with your pediatrician. And in our class, I would go as well, I'm not going to say what I would say. What would you say if you were writing a letter to this girl, knowing what you know about these theories? And remember, theories help us to explain something that's happening. So, what theory or what theories would you use to help explain to this tweener why she says, freaking out about getting a disease? And she said it started when she watched the news one night last month for a show. She was, what did she say? I watched the news one night last month waiting for a show to come on. So, I hope you'll have a discussion with someone in the class and see what theory or theories, maybe it's more than one theory, that can be used to explain what is happening to this tweener. And that ends this podcast on theories. And I hope we'll really get into this discussion some more in class. Thank you.